Hola amigos, bien o no, y saludos desde Inglaterra. Hoy solo va a compartir parte de este libro porque estuve leyendo este libro hoy, es muy interesante y solo quiero compartir con ustedes. Eso es, puedes escuchar y mirar si ustedes pueden entender el tema, contenido y poco de esta historia. So, hello again from England. Well, today I'm just going to share with you a reading from this book, Rivals by Michael White. Interesting group of essays. I'm just going to read this really so you can practice a bit of the kind of listening comprehension, see if you understand what it's about, and then I'll give you a bit of a summary of it at the end. Here we go. Zurich, 18th of December 1944. On the wall of the small seminar room in the University of Zurich, the clock shows 4:15 p.m. and the 20 people seated in the room settle themselves in preparation for a talk delivered by their esteemed guest, the Nobel Prize-winning German physicist Werner Heisenberg. Heisenberg is tall and thin, with light brown hair and large blue eyes. He moves across the front of the room, talking quickly and scribbling equations on the blackboard. After a few minutes, the board is covered with mathematical symbols, a muddle of equations. Most of those in the room can follow what Heisenberg is saying. They are physicists, specialists who work in the same field of research, and they are here to learn the latest ideas of the man who led the earliest development of quantum mechanics some 2 decades earlier. After only a few minutes, one man in the room finds himself lost. In spite of spending many hours preparing for this seminar and reading all he could about nuclear physics, the speed of Heisenberg's delivery and the increasingly elaborate mathematics he is using quickly become too much. His concentration wandering for the first time, he puts his hand into his jacket pocket and fingers the loaded automatic nestled there. The man's name is Maurice Berg, a former baseball champion, now an undercover agent for the Office of Strategic Services, an American intelligence agency and forerunner to the CIA. His mission is to determine from Heisenberg's talk whether or not the German scientist has cracked the secrets of constructing an atomic weapon, and if Berg believes the Germans are on the brink of building such a device, he will remove his pistol and shoot Heisenberg between the eyes in front of the gathered scientists. For Berg, the talk has become an overwhelming cascade of meaningless words, the writing on the board akin to hieroglyphics. As his concentration drifts, he begins to feel nervous, and the palms of his hands grow clammy. Can he really shoot this man in cold blood? If he does, he will surely be caught and killed himself. And for what? Maybe the man is innocent. Berg's knowledge of physics is extremely limited, but he is a superb linguist. Yet much of what he is hearing makes no sense. They could be the words of the guilty or those of the blameless. Berg gradually calms down. Slowly, he removes his hand from his pocket. He cannot go through with the murder. He has no evidence, no real reason, and he cannot bring himself to take the life of an innocent man without definite proof. As Heisenberg concludes his lecture, Berg rises with the others, exchanges a few words with those standing beside him, and leaves quietly. Although it sounds like a scene from a novel, this cloak and dagger operation to assassinate the leading German scientists of the day really did happen. Berg, a man ill prepared to know if Heisenberg was indeed discussing ideas instrumental to the construction of the atomic bomb, was nevertheless convinced the man at the front of the lecture hall was not withholding any monumental secrets that could alter the course of the war. Unmolested, Heisenberg returned home to Germany a few days after his talk, where he continued his researches, oblivious to the fact that he'd almost met a violent death in the Zurich seminar room. By this time, the Manhattan Project, the Allied effort to create an atomic bomb, was close to completion. The Allies were advancing through Europe, and Hitler had only months to live. Rumours had long been circulating that the Führer had some form of wonder weapon, some secret device that could yet change the course of the war. Determined to thwart Nazi plans, two physicists working on the Manhattan Project, Hans Bethe and Victor Weisskopf, has suggested the idea of a kidnap or assassination attempt upon Heisenberg, and had even volunteered for the job. Fortunately for Heisenberg, when Berg found himself in the seminar room in Zurich and in a position in which he could have killed the German, he had become convinced that if a super weapon really did exist, Heisenberg was probably not the man behind it. However, this was only Berg's opinion. Most of Heisenberg's former colleagues, who were by this time working in Allied countries, felt that he certainly was capable of building an atomic bomb, just as they were attempting to do at Los Alamos. None of these scientists could be sure, but while there was any form of doubt, they knew that they had to do everything they could to ensure the Allies produced a bomb first. The alternative was too frightening to contemplate. So there we go. That very short piece there, we start to read about the competing works of the time the Americans, the Allies, and then eventually the Russians, who could build the atomic bomb first. But it's an interesting piece of writing, yeah? It's a different way of looking at the history, and it's written more in the way of, well, in some ways, a bit more like a novel. Certainly more like a journalistic report. It's not perhaps the type of history book you might have expected. It's a very interesting read. But there we are. I just share that with you today because I was rereading this again after many years. But see what you think. Is this something that you were able to understand really easily? Were there parts of this that are confusing? Think about why. Déjame saber en los comentarios, como siempre. But for now, we'll say cheerio.